Question: would you feel confused and perplexed seeing flood on newly constructed roads where millions and millions of dollars were spent on? I bet you would. This is a normal occurrence in the Gambia. The newly constructed OIC roads are being battered by flooding after the government spent millions of dollars rebuilding them. The worst part is this: no one will be held accountable for this crime. Should you be surprised? Especially after reports from the NPP camp suggesting that over 90% of roads constructed by Adama Barrow are substandard roads, as revealed by two NPP insiders. These two NPP insiders went on further to reveal how these road constructions take place and why they are of poor quality. You will also find out how the $25 million road construction budget got inflated to a $37 million budget. Guess what? Mainstream media is not talking about it. Let's take a look at what these two NPP insiders have revealed. The OIC-funded road initiatives in the Gambia, envisioned as a signal of infrastructural advancement for the Banjul OIC summit, are being undermined by structural flaws, environmental stress, and implementation failures. With two-thirds of key roads still unfinished, deficient drainage, and chronic resource bottlenecks, the roads have transitioned from optimism to a cautionary tale, raising pressing questions about accountability, public safety, and the ability to deliver on international development commitments. It has become a normal phenomenon that large sums of money get allocated or invested by the Gambian government that often yield poor outcomes. In fact, the only good outcome we notice is the politicians and people in power rathering big bellies as if they are competing with each other on who's got the biggest belly. Despite the huge amounts of money the Gambian liability of a president in the name of Adama Barrow is currently claiming to be spending on roads, these same roads continue to be in poor, deplorable conditions. As disclosed by two NPP insiders, they claim that there are two ways through which the government gives out contracts that defies and completely erodes good quality. But before we reveal these two ways, let's look at a couple of the OIC roads as an example. Now let's go to Sukuta, where residents have expressed their dismay on the state of the newly constructed OIC roads that are being battered by floods. Now this is certainly not a good start considering the fact that the rainy season has only just started. Earlier today it was raining for more than 2 hours, causing flooding in certain parts of Sukuta, specifically at the newly constructed feeder roads along the Sukuta Health Center. This video you are seeing is one of the newly constructed OIC feeder roads that is being engulfed by water in Sukuta. According to residents, such an occurrence has never happened on this particular stretch of road. This was a great compromise for them to be greeted by something they have never witnessed in their area. The residents blamed it on the authorities for gross negligence and lack of proper survey before construction commenced. Clearly this is another poorly constructed OIC road where millions were allegedly spent. But does it look like a road that was constructed with millions of the OIC money? It is no way near as water can be seen in shops and compounds with no way to pass through unless you plunge yourself into the water. So clearly this doesn't seem to be a good start, as we're just at the beginning of the rainy season. But how did these substandard and poorly constructed roads come about? The answer lies in the three ways revealed by two NPP insiders through which the Gambian government gives out contracts. Once we spill these two ways, everything will become clear. Now let's look at one more example before we let the cat out of the bag. Another example of a poorly constructed and substandard OIC road is equally gripped by massive flooding, which has left residents demanding that their old road be brought back. Now let's go to Talending. This picture you are currently seeing is one of the OIC roads in Talending that is being battered by floods. As you can see, residents standing in the flood grappling newly constructed OIC road. This has been the norm in the Gambia, where millions of dollars will be budgeted for the purpose of road construction. After 1 to 3 years, these same roads will be as if they were never constructed in the first place, not to talk of millions of dollars being spent on them. Guess what? No one gets held accountable. This is a humble request to please support our work by liking this video and subscribing to the African Pacific YouTube channel, a Gambian-owned channel looking into the happenings of the motherland that are often ignored by mainstream media. Please show your support by liking and subscribing. Thank you so much. Now let's look at these two dubious ways the Gambian government handed out these road construction contracts as reported by the two NPP insiders. This will give you the perfect picture of why these newly constructed roads that take in millions of dollars in the name of construction only for them to end up in a deplorable state after 1 to 3 years. This was what happened to the so-called Banjul project, which saw over $37 million being flushed down the drain. This is because the contract was awarded through these two dubious ways we are to mention as stated by two NPP insiders. If you can recall, the Banjul project was awarded to Hadim Gay, who did a very terrible job leaving Banjul at the mercy of their worst ever flood in history. The Banjul Roads project in the Gambia, which was expected to transform the capital's deteriorating road infrastructure, has come under intense scrutiny due to allegations of poor construction, despite massive financial investment. Official reports indicate that over $37 million, approximately $1.75 billion, was allocated for the rehabilitation and construction of roads, drainage systems, and related urban upgrades in Banjul. The contract was awarded to Guy Construction Company, owned by Hadim Guy, a prominent Gambian businessman. The project was launched in 2019 with high expectations, promised to be completed with durable materials and modern engineering standards. However, just months after portions of the roads were completed, signs of structural failure began to emerge. Flooding became a persistent problem due to inadequate drainage, and potholes began to reappear in areas that were supposedly newly paved. A 2023 audit by the National Audit Office revealed that only 60% of the project met basic engineering standards, and some road sections were constructed with subpar materials not in compliance with the original project specifications. These failures have sparked public outrage, especially given the massive budget involved and the lack of accountability or transparent procurement processes. Citizens and civil society organizations have called for an investigation into how the funds were spent and why quality assurance mechanisms failed. Allegations against Hadim Guy and his company point to cronyism, lack of proper oversight, and a broader culture of impunity in government contracting. The failure of the Banjul Roads project not only reflects a financial loss but also poses safety risks to commuters and residents. The project has become a symbol of corruption and mismanagement in the Gambia's public infrastructure sector. Now dive into the two dubious ways the Gambian government gives out contracts that have resulted in total failure and the loss of crucial funds as reported by two NPP insiders who have actually benefited from it. The first dubious way is that the government prioritizes returns or kickbacks over standards. The Gambian government has faced growing criticism for prioritizing political loyalty and personal kickbacks over merit-based contracting in its road construction projects. Evidence suggests that contracts worth millions of dollars are often awarded to companies with close ties to government officials rather than firms with proven track records. For example, between 2019 and 2023, over $3 billion, approximately $60 million, was spent on road and drainage construction projects, with a significant portion awarded through sole sourcing or non-competitive bidding, raising serious transparency concerns. This pattern has undermined the quality and sustainability of key infrastructure works across the country. A recent investigation by the Gambia Public Procurement Authority, GPPA, found that nearly 40% of road contracts awarded in 2022 did not go through a competitive bidding process. Moreover, multiple projects were handed to politically connected contractors who lacked the technical capacity or equipment to deliver durable roads. This includes companies that failed previous projects but were still recontracted. These actions suggest a deliberate disregard for procurement laws in favor of short-term personal gain. Consequently, poorly constructed roads have emerged across the country, especially in Banjul and the Combo areas, with some newly completed roads showing major defects within 12 months of completion. The implications of these practices are dire. Poorly built roads not only endanger lives but also cost the nation more in repeated maintenance and lost economic productivity. A 2023 report by the National Roads Authority estimated that the Gambia loses over $500 million annually in economic value due to substandard roads. The public continues to demand reform and greater accountability in the procurement process, calling for an end to the culture of favoritism and kickbacks that prioritizes personal enrichment over national development. Until systemic changes are implemented, the country risks wasting scarce resources on projects that fail to meet the needs of its people. This is a polite reminder to please like this video and subscribe to the African Pacific YouTube channel. Please show your support by liking and subscribing. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. The second dubious way the government gives out contracts is by overinflating the overall budget of construction. The Gambian government has been widely accused of overinflating road construction budgets as a means to facilitate corruption and personal enrichment. Independent financial analyses and media investigations have revealed stark discrepancies between the projected costs of road projects in the Gambia and similar undertakings in neighboring countries. For instance, while a kilometer of paved road in Senegal costs approximately $400,000, comparable projects in the Gambia have been budgeted at $800,000 to $1 million per kilometer, more than double the regional average. This significant inflation is not backed by topographical or logistical justifications, pointing instead to deliberate price padding. A 2023 report by the National Audit Office uncovered that in at least 6 major road projects between 2018 and 2022, the government approved inflated budgets that exceeded realistic construction costs by up to 65%. In one case, the Banjul Roads project, originally estimated at $25 million, ballooned to over $37 million, with no corresponding expansion in project scope or quality. Yet these additional funds were neither audited transparently nor accounted for in detailed breakdowns. This trend of overestimation is viewed as a channel through which high-ranking officials and politically connected contractors siphon off public funds under the guise of infrastructure development. The consequences of such financial malpractice are far-reaching. Besides depriving citizens of durable infrastructure, these inflated contracts divert resources from essential services like health, education, and agriculture. A 2024 World Bank assessment of Gambian infrastructure spending noted that as much as 30% of road project funds are lost to inefficiencies and corruption, ranking the Gambia among the worst performers in the sub-region. Calls for stronger procurement oversight, independent audits, and the establishment of an anti-corruption infrastructure tribunal have grown louder, as citizens demand accountability for what has become a pattern of budgetary manipulation for personal gain. In conclusion, as long as Adama Barrow stays in office, more and more economic destruction will prevail, ultimately crippling the nation's economy and any hopes of recovery or revitalization of the Gambia as a country. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.